In this video, we are going to discuss how to crush 1d4 with the black pieces, and we are going to discuss a game none other than Magnus Carlsen, the world champion. The game is very interesting, so I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So Magnus is playing with the white pieces, and Magnus is also facing a very strong grandmaster. We have 1d4, Magnus plays knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. And this is a very common setup, and from here the many options begin from the black side. Black can play the move c5, black can play the move b6, black can play the move d5, black can even go for playing the move bishop to b4 check. Magnus played the move b6, this opening is also known as the Queen's Indian defense. g3, the main move in the position, and here we have the move bishop to a6, fianchetting the bishop to a6, attacking the c4 pawn. And this is a move that I'm personally recommending you guys. I've also made a complete video on this. Bishop a6 is a very interesting move because the most common way to play is bishop b7. But once you play the move bishop a6, your opponent you are facing is definitely going to be out of book. So now you are having good chances to win the game. So after bishop a6, now there are tons of options for white to continue the game. Queen a4, b3 the main move, knight to d2. These three moves are the main move, even queen c2 is the main move. So yeah, there are four moves to really continue the position. So after bishop to a6, we have b3 the main move, which makes sense. You're defending the pawn to c4. The idea is to put the bishop to b2. Magnus played the move bishop to b7, pulling back the bishop first. Bishop g2 makes sense. Bishop to b4 check. Bishop d2, and now playing the move c5. So a very interesting move to play bishop to b4 check, because not allowing white to put the bishop to b2, but to force white to play the move bishop to d2. And after bishop d2, Magnus played the move c5, which is a very interesting move. And here white simply decided to short castle. After c5, many of the players would be wondering why can't white simply capture the bishop on b4. cb4, and black is having two pawns on the same file, so it should be good for white. It is not, guys, eventually in this particular position, because the b4 pawn is extremely strong because it covers the c3 and the a3 square. So for example, after c into b4, white short castle, we play the move a5, cementing a pawn on b4, and after e3 short castle, let's say white tries to play a3, because now the b4 pawn is really starting to get a bit irritating for white. So now we can simply play the move knight a6, and if white tries to capture the pawn, we can simply capture with the knight, and the knight is happily placed on the b4, a very nice outpost for the knight. And black is already better. So after knight a6, for example, queen e2, we can play the move rook c8, followed by eventually d5, and black is having a perfect position. And if white ever tries to capture the pawn, we can simply capture with the knight, and now the c3 square is also weak for the knight and the rook. So we can simply jump in with our pieces, and black is already having a better position. So that's exactly what happens if your opponent captures the bishop. That's the reason capturing the bishop is not the best, and his opponent plays the best move, which is short castle. Ignoring the threat of capturing the bishop, we have short castle as well. And now white plays the move bishop to f4, which makes sense. Many of the players you are going to face will definitely go for opting this particular move, because the idea of bishop f4 is pretty simple. White wants to play a3 and drop the bishop. So how are you really going to continue the position? After bishop f4, Magnus decided to capture the pawn on d4. So basically capturing a pawn and also making space for the bishop to come back. cd4, we have queen d4, and now simply developing the knight and also attacking the queen. Kicking the queen back and now playing the move g5, simply opening up the center. Because every minor piece has successfully been developed, black has also even castled up. So black is fully prepared to play the move d5. We have the move a3, attacking the bishop first, bishop to e7, and now white played the move knight c3. If white ever tries to think of capturing a pawn on d5, we can happily capture the pawn back with the knight, attacking the bishop. So after bishop g2, we can even play the move rook c8, bringing the final piece into the game. And now black is pretty happy, all his minor pieces are developed, whereas white is still facing some issues with the knight on b1. And I would say black is already having a slight edge in this position out of the opening. So definitely it's a great winning chances for black. So that's exactly what happens if white captures the pawn. If white played knight c3, which exactly happened in the game, Magnus played the move d into c4, simply capturing the pawn. And after d into c4, if you capture the pawn back with the queen, Now already knight f5 attacking the pawn on the queen, rook c8 is coming in, and black is having already a very pleasant position. The engine already saying it's a -1. Close to -1 I would say. So that's the reason queen into c4 is already a bad move. So white was kind of forced to take with the pawn. And now you can already sense that white is having two weaknesses in this particular position. So black should be already better. B into c4, Magnus played the move knight to a5. Now the idea is pretty simple. Now Magnus is going to put the maximum pressure on the c4 pawn and is going to be a pawn up in the future. Knight to e5, attacking the bishop. So first Magnus traded off the bishop and now he played the move queen c8, putting maximum pressure on the c4 pawn, and now the idea is to bring the rook to d8 attacking the queen. Rook to a2, and now we have the move first queen b7 check, giving a check and now making a square for the rook to go on c8 and another rook to go on d8. So after queen f3, we have a queen trade as well. So Magnus is just trading everything and now white is the one having weaknesses, so black is in the driver's seat. Rook to c8, knight to b5, getting some counterplay. a6 attacking the knight first, knight to d4, and now first playing the move knight to e8. So if black goes for capturing the knight, capturing the pawn in this position, it's still a fine move. You can definitely go for capturing the pawn, but it just gives white a bit of a counterplay after knight e to c6. So that's the reason first Magnus first went back with knight to e8, making a square for the bishop to go on f6, which is the best square for the bishop. So first rook b1 attacking the b6 pawn in the position, f6 attacking the knight, knight to d7, and now the b6 pawn can't really be protected. So first knight into pawn, and now first we have the move knight into e6. You cannot go for capturing the pawn in this position because after takes, black can already play bishop c5 and win an exchange. So that's the reason capturing the pawn on e6 is the fourth move, and now already b5. And after b5, Magnus is very happy in this position. He's not materially up, but I would say he's already positionally up because he's having outside passer on the queen side, which can be a potential threat to white in the upcoming future. So after b5, we have the move a4, trying to create some weakness on the queen side. We have the move b4 by Magnus, which was not the best move in this position. Up until now, he was playing a best chess. The best move was to play the move king f7, attacking the knight. And the best move here is knight e to c5, because if you try to pull back the knight, I can play the move g5, kick the bishop and play the move rook c7, and the knight is trapped. So knight e to c5 is the only move, and already g5 in this position. The idea is to kick the bishop, and here a into b5 is the only move, because or else if you try to move your bishop back like bishop e3, black can already capture the bishop, takes followed by bishop c5, and black could be a piece up. That's the reason capturing the pawn. And the main idea here is after takes, white can play the move b6, and now white is getting some counterplay, but here black is going to sack the bishop for the pawn, takes, and eventually when the dust settles, we have this position where black is having a knight and 3 pawns for white 4 pawns. So eventually black is already better in the position, but that's how the line goes. So going back, king f7 was the best move, but we have the move b4, which gave white the opportunity to first play the move a5, and now the b4 pawn is kind of a weak pawn. It can easily be captured in the upcoming future. But we have the move rook c2, which was the last blunder of the game, because after rook c2, can you find the winning move? You can try to pause the video and find the best move for black in this position. Okay, so after rook c2, if you guys found out the move knight to e5 check, excellent move. It's a check, the knight is hanging, so takes, and here Magnus simply captured the rook on c2, and white simply resigned because Magnus is an exchange up. He's having a strong b passer, which can easily be pushed and become a queen now. So that's exactly why white resigned, and Magnus simply won a perfect game of chess in this particular position with the black pieces against d4. Playing the queen's Indian defense is a very interesting opening because it keeps the maximum pieces on your board. You are having the time to adjust your pieces, like bishop b7, just develop all your pieces, and then finally when all your pieces are developed, open up the center with d5. and you are having a very pleasant position. So there are many model games you can study in the Queen's Indian defense that can help you to improve your game against 1d4. So this is an opening that I would highly recommend you to play against 1d4, the Queen's Indian defense with the black pieces. So if you guys learned anything new today, make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you are new to our channel. I'm going to come up with these interesting videos like this to solve all your problems, guys. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching OneShot Chess.